Nope, there's another one. There's another one that's lost. I have this one I brought with me.
That's what was on there.
There's another one that dropped off. It's right here.
Look in my truck.
Wait, it's on the mic.
Did you want this on tour? Try not to shuffle papers. Yeah, Sharon's saying those cookies.
On the side, apologize.
No, you're gonna coalesce right, Doris, so we're good.
Same thing we talked about the other night?
Yeah.
Right, yep.
So it's not even an issue tonight?
No.
Perfect, so it's all,
Paperwork.
I would just, perfect.
Yeah.
You'll get a new tax bill.
At least say the pledge of allegiance with them.
I will do that.
All right, good.
We'll do that, I'll never disrespect that.
I see. Thank you. So awesome.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Lee Town Board meeting. It is September 10th, 2024. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge the allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm all good. John asked if I want me to speak for him tonight. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Any changes or concerns?
Just a few of them.
Okay. Motion to accept,
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Joe, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Call to the public. Lisa, I see you're here.
Yes, I'm here. How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hope you had a good summer. I can't believe it's September already. Frightens me. Just a reminder that the New York State Association of Conservation Commissions annual conference is going to be held this year here locally with the Tug Hill Commission having their annual dinner meeting the same week. So if you responded to the Tug Hill Commission for their dinner, that's fantastic. I think those were due last week. If not, I'm not sure if we could still get in, but you can still participate in any of the environmental conference events. You know, they're doing some tours locally and whatnot, so please feel free to get more information on the Tug Hill Commission's website. They do have a drop down for that. The annual land use workshop is going to be held September 25th. That's with the New York State Department of State and the Lewis County Department of Community Planning and Development. That is on Wednesday, September 25th from 3:30 to 8 up in Loudville. There's no cost to attend, and they will feed you and give you drinks. And the topics are special use permits, seeker, and county referral. So there is a webpage on the Lewis County Planning Workshop website that you can go for more information and register that way. As you are probably familiar, NOCOG and Tug Hill are offering a municipal benefits of GPS mapping here in your town hall on September 26th. So thank you for offering the space. That's going to be held at 11. We're offering treats, so that's always exciting. And, you know, they'll go over the various benefits of our GPS mapping for our municipalities. So I know you guys utilize someone, I think, within your town to do it, but I think that you might have spoke with John about maybe
Yeah.
coordinating that together or more. So that's,
Yeah, Paul Pfister with our zoning has done
yeah,
that.
so that may be something of interest for him to attend. There's a town clerk lunch and learn. Again, NOCOG, Tug Hill Commission, and the New York State Comptroller's Office are going to be sponsoring that on Monday, September 30th from 12 noon to 1:30 in the town of Trenton municipal offices. No cost to attend, lunch will be provided. Ingrid Otto, who's a CPA with the Comptroller's Office, is going to be in attendance, I believe virtually, assisting town clerks in understanding capabilities. So, and you can register by September 25th if that's anything of interest for you. And our NOCOG annual fall dinner meeting is actually going to be October 24th. Last month we had it wrong in our announcements of the 17th. It's a week later. It's just down the road here at Woods Valley. For those of you that attended last year, it was a nice success over there. We very much enjoyed it, so we're giving it another shot. Asking, however, for more tables and lighting. I think that was an issue last year. It seemed a little dim, but Steve Smith, who's the Executive Director of the Mohawk Valley Economic Development District, is our speaker. It's $30 per person, and reservations would be requested by October 18th. And the invites are going electronically. I don't know if they've come yet, but they're going to come by email. You did get them. Ooh, excellent. Maybe that means I got one too. So that's that. Cash bar, social hour starts at 6:30, and then a buffet after. So,
Was it 5:30, I think, or not?
I thought it was 5:30.
is it 5:30? Does it say
That's what it
5:30
said
on
on
the
my-
invite? Well, on my thing
Because
here
that's
it
my
says 6:30.
concern.
I thought 6:30 seemed a little late.
Got the date adjusted, now the
I
time's
know,
wrong.
right? Whatever. Maybe show up on the 24th and something. Be merry, right? So.
You're gonna be an hour earlier.
Yeah, I know, right?
It is bad,
They're
so I'll
excited.
get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Don't count on me for time, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anybody else from the public like to speak?
I will, but I'd like to say here, you guys have number 7 first before I do.
Okay.
I'd just like to introduce myself, if I may. My name's Hannah Sheehan. I'm here for the Daily Sentinel. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Will you be a regular?
Hopefully. Yeah, if I do okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Yes.
So, my name is Don Peavy from the town of Western, and I was here just about a year ago, and we did a meeting with you folks, so appreciate you having us out for that. But it's almost like, the town supervisor, he's not here. He wasn't here then. That's like a year.
No, John's here. He's already here.
But is he
Our
the
town
town
supervisor.
supervisor?
Yes.
I didn't even know, I hadn't seen him, and, he hadn't been here last year, so, well, good, it's good to see you then.
Yep.
Okay? Hope you're doing okay. Perfect,
Okay, good.
thanks so much.
Anybody else from the public? Steve?
I don't know, well, I guess this is public. I did this last night in the town of Western, and, I was just wondering if you, the town of Lee, had gotten an email from the county about the septic system repair or replacement grant? Because they didn't get it in Western.
I don't know.
So, Jay, well, what I'll do
I see that.
is tomorrow, or when I get home, I think I emailed the whole board, in Western like 5:30 this morning, so they all could have it. It was in the Sentinel, but I don't know what the circulation on the Sentinel is anymore, so, a lot of people might have missed that, but there's, the 50% reimbursement up to $10,000, and it's, through the Oneida County Health Department, and there's $200,000 available there. What it includes, and I don't know how many people in Lee will actually benefit from this, but, and I wrote this stuff down specifically for the town of Western, but it's the Big Brook tributary, the Delta Reservoir, the Rome Reservoir, Mohawk River tributaries, what they put in there, and you can get this information on the Oneida County, the Health Department website, okay? In the upper and minor parts of the Mohawk River, okay? So, I have that information available, it's the Oneida County Health Department, and, their email, is environmentalhealth@ocgov.net. But like I say, I'll send you guys an email in the morning, so this way, you'll have it,
Okay, good.
you'll be able to read that. What I did find out about that last night was there's a $500 review, it's $500 to review your application. And if you get refused, you don't get approved, you don't get your $500 back. So, You know, I would just tell people to maybe, you know, make sure that they have a good case, and there's a map there that tells you who, you know, what people fall into the, you know, the target area, so,
So buyer beware, in other words, then, right?
you know, it's kinda crazy, it's a $200,000 grant, and they say it's good till March of 2027, and I was kinda corrected in the fact that they said, no, they put up $200,000 every year, that's not the way I read it, you know? And I was thinking, geez, you better react quickly, because, there's only $200,000 there, if 20 people get $10,000 apiece, the money's gone. So, I called them this morning to get some of this information, you know, after I heard some things that I heard last night, so,
So the homeowners would go directly to the link and they would handle it from there?
Yeah.
We don't get involved,
yeah,
right?
there's a, you know, I clicked on, there's an application, they give you the application, looks pretty easy, that you'd have to fill out, but, I think before anybody did anything, I'd call the health department and, you know, and get some, facts and figures and some verifications on, you know, what you might need, okay? So that's what I have on that one. And then I kinda just wanna, give you like a well, some of these numbers are for 6 months and some are for 7 months, and it's what the county's doing. Gaming revenues for the second quarter, and that's from the Oneida Indian Nation. Last year at this time, we had gotten 5.7 million, for the first 6 months. And, we were down $37,800. For 2024, we're projected to get 11.4, no, I'm sorry, projected, that was 6 months, 11.4. Projected for 2024, $23 million from revenues from, the Oneida Nation. That goes to the county, which I think helps all of us. And then the state will add an additional $2.5 million that they get from the nation that comes to Oneida County. Another one was bed tax revenues for the second quarter, up 6.5%, I think mainly due to the World Women's Hockey event they had at Nexus. So that's good, 6.5, it's a nice number. And sales tax, which are the county's largest revenue source, up 4.2 for July. Let's see, through July 2020, $112 million, and that's up from last year, $110 million. It's 2.3% increase. And just to make a comparison, the state as a whole was only up 0.2. So things are, revenue-wise, the county's doing, it's holding its own, you know.
What do they attribute that to, that increase in our area?
You know something, Don, I hate to be a pessimist, but if something cost $3 last year, and it costs $4 this year, and you're getting that much tax, I would have to say inflation.
That would be across the state.
That would be my guess, and I could be totally wrong.
Right,
So,
across the
anyways,
state, but thank you.
thank you for this opportunity. So,
Thanks, Steve. Yeah.
Steve?
Any other public to speak? No? Okay, we'll move on to old business. Dodson and Associate Consulting Engineers, we have to do the lead lead service line inventory. Jack did send, did you see that, Jack? Jack did send that out this morning, that can go to the homeowners, and if they can figure it out. I looked at it, it looked a little confusing to me, but then again, I didn't really spend any time on it, but at least that's in the works.
Yes, we just have to mail it out to every customer.
By email, or they could take all those codes.
Yeah, QR codes.
QR code, that has that at the very end, I saw, I don't know, you just link onto that?
Yeah, you click
Yeah,
on it,
you
takes
just
you to a
do it with your
website.
phone and,
Okay, I didn't try that, something scared me.
so, I don't know, see how many we get back. Some of them we know already, so we kind of can narrow it down to who we
service line review, I believe we have to sign that too, right? Yes. This is all the stuff that's on there. Oh, you did sign, okay, all right. Yes, we'll leave a motion then. If you want to do that.
Make motion that we, accept, Johnson's proposal for the lead line service inventory.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, John second, all in favor? Okay. Good. So with that, to go back to Johnson. The other part, we have the Lee Water Storage Tank inspections. Dotson came through with a price of $7,500, and then Aquastore came through with a price of $10,000 for inspection, and I don't know if that includes any labor. If they have, they know there's a leak, they do know that. You have to drain one tank and then the other.
Yeah, the leak they sounded like they're just gonna plug it, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's not $2,500 for the plug.
No, so, but yeah, we gotta drain the tank down so they can get
One,
to
and then
it.
the others, they have to drain the other side, like,
Well,
we'll just open the top hatch and.
They'll do it with water in it, but the one that has to be repaired, we gotta drain down so they can get to where it needs to be fixed.
Okay. I don't know if we wanna look into this order, if that's our only option.
So we paying both of them, the 75 and the 10.
I thought this
Or
was
they just-
Jack's estimate on what it's gonna be.
Oh, okay.
That's
And
what
then
I came.
And it came in high.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what Jack thought it should be, and then, yeah. The estimate fee for this work, $7,500, payments to engineer.
Yeah, I think we should review that.
That's a little bit. Is that okay with you, Josh, if we review this and?
Yeah, it's up to you guys. I mean, we have to do it, I mean, I don't know who else does it, you know, as far as.
I just kind of confused with what it's covering. If it's
Yeah.
just 10 grand or if it's 17.5.
Well, we could do it, you know, based on if it is, just
This
as,
is the 10, yeah, but I don't think 17, yeah, I mean, he's not getting that for,
Sean, that was my reading of it, that it was $7,500 for the engineer's review, and then $10,000 for the contractor, which is basically the leak. So I would agree with you, maybe we should table this and maybe even see if we can get some other quotes from different
yeah,
contractors.
for that price, we should get a couple quotes.
Yeah.
Three quotes at that.
Exactly,
yeah,
Yeah,
so I think we should,
we agree to table it? We'll look into it more. Yeah, okay, I agree. Okay, so we don't need to do a motion for that, right? We'll table that till, and we, you know, maybe we'll probably have a budget meeting or something, well, we can't do it at a budget meeting. I was gonna say we have to do a special meeting.
meeting to approve it in between.
Yeah, if we have to do a special meeting, we'll do a special meeting to sign up. Okay, city water service to create a new district. Still in the works. I talked to Jack on it yesterday morning, and we've got to, we gotta have a public hearing still. He wants to do that this fall. There was question and answer period with whatever residents wanna come in. He'll answer the questions. We have, I think, until April to get our grant in place. And at that point, we'll know, you know, about public hearing first, I mean, but he is engineering, he's going through the engineering right now, and it's in the works. So I guess we'll,
We gotta pick a date for a public
we'll
hearing.
just see when Jack, yeah, is available for a public hearing and a question and answer period, if we have to use the other rulers. So we'll call on that and see when we're gonna do it. Anytime's probably good for you, right, Josh? We can just get the word out.
Yeah, we just gotta notify all the people potentially affected.
Okay. What do we need, just 10 days in the paper for that or something?
you're talking about actually creating the district, or just an
Public
information?
hearing to create the district, yeah.
Yeah, well, we need to have the map plan and report for that first, I think, so Jack needs to create that document before we can create the water district, that's my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, I just have like an informal question to answer.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do that question. Okay. I don't think there's anything else on that, right?
No, that's
Is there
all,
anything else?
yeah, all questions for that property being purchased by North Whitmore is done.
Yeah, that's done, he has agreed to coalesce the property, so
Yeah.
it's a done deal, other than a couple technicalities. School on Turnville, flashing school zone signs, we haven't got anything on that yet, Bill, right? Steve?
Yeah, I spoke with Joe Griffel's office, and I talked to Brian Nady in particular, and he was reading me 2014 and 2015 emails pursuing what we're trying to do now with the blinking lights. And what he told me was, you have to meet certain criteria, and two, and he named a couple, but the two that I think were most significant to Stokes is everybody gets bused, so nobody walks to school, and that's one criteria that we don't meet at Stokes. The other one was, what's that? Oh, sidewalks. So they didn't have sidewalks, and the only one I can think of, thanks Bill, my brain went dead there. If you look at Westmoreland, and that's what we compare it to, they walk, they have sidewalks. That's why that was, well, those were just the two that Stokes, so like I say, Brian was reading his emails from 9, 10 years ago. He said, what the town of Lee should do is with your letterhead is send something to the DOT. And that might that might have more influence to them. And I don't know if anybody ever did that, I
We
was.
should videotape the congestion there at the school. I mean, yeah, everybody gets bused, but
Yeah.
probably a third of them get picked up by mom or dad.
Yeah, I see, I see what goes on, every now and then I'm in the area when that's happening, but that was Brian Ady, who's Joe Griffel's, main man, he handles most of the, I don't know if you wanna call them, inquiries, okay? So, that was his suggestion to maybe try to get the ball rolling again by sending something to the DOT right from the town of Lee.
Okay,
Okay.
maybe with a video on it.
What's that, Jim?
Maybe with a video of the congestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that would hurt.
Wouldn't hurt.
So
That's where he took me with that phone call, okay? I was happy that he got a hold of me and, explained that. So at least we have their attention,
So that criteria is for the flashing lights
Yeah,
period?
that's
Not
two
even-
of the criteria. There was
Okay.
more, but those were the two that he kinda highlighted, saying, well, they don't have this and they don't have this. And I don't know, I actually, when I heard those two, it's kinda tough when you have, when you have to meet 4 or 5 different criteria and 2 of them are,
Already out.
already out, so, I would inquire, to the DOT, like I say, it's been 9, 10 years,
Yeah.
maybe something's changed.
Okay.
Hopefully something's changed,
Yeah,
so that's what I have on that.
okay. Thank you. Shelter needed for dog warden to house found or confiscated dogs.
Still going back and forth with Wanderers Rest over in Canastota. It sounds promising that they would be willing to take it, we just gotta see a proposal from them yet.
Carrie Castle was gonna get us a proposal too, right?
Yeah, she said she was going to at the last meeting, and I haven't seen
Yeah.
anything from her yet
I didn't
either.
call her or anything either. Check on that. What's the other one? Wanderers Rest.
Wanderers Rest, yeah.
6-week program update. We're still waiting on Tanner and Lily to get us just how the year went, maybe changes, maybe what we should do different. I think the time went pretty well. We did have one problem with Laura's grandson, and I think that's what you want to speak about, right? If you want to get your name and address for the record.
My name is Tabitha Kenny. My address is 8310 Penny Street, Milton Row. Well, it's not just this year, it was 2 years ago too, when my kids were taken out of the park. So my main concern is really safety and how that's handled. Because 2 years ago, my kids were taken by one of the counselors to the gas station down the road for a drink. One kid was not in the car seat, and the other one had special needs who shouldn't have been brought anywhere. This year, my middle son fell and hit his head in concrete and got a concussion. I ended up taking a day and a half off of work, no phone call from anybody at the park as to my son's issues. So that's a big concern for me.
Yeah, Laura did let us know about that, and next year we will make sure that that doesn't happen again. I can't speak for what actually happened that day or how that went down. But we've also talked about maybe having some first aid, basic first aid for the counselors, for the 2 leads and the counselors, so at least they can address it, or they might be able to spot the problem
Well, it's
sooner.
not
But
necessarily a first aid part. It's also, how are the counselors even, like, do they have any qualifications? Like, are they hired? That's what I want.
The youth counselors, they submit resumes just like anyone would for a regular job, and they are reviewed, and
you have to have so many hours of that type of work.
age and, yeah, different stuff that they've done previously, like babysitting,
Working
you
with
know,
teams and.
volunteering.
Well, because there's a lot of concerns that I see. I worked in a school system for almost 10 years. I worked in daycare before, and as a parent, I should have been the first one called, and I never was. For both instances, this past summer and 2 years ago, I never got a phone call from anybody. Not the counselors, not the person who took my kids, nor anybody from here about what happened, or even to check on my children. That should happen too. So I guess the process of safety needs to be brought up before the next park program.
Okay.
I mean, I've also heard some things of kids not being watched during the program, climbing on the brick walls, climbing up trees, so I don't know what exactly goes on. I've never showed up. And then my other concern is, are IDs checked when children are let go?
They're supposed to be signed in and signed out by a parent.
But signed in and signed out, I believe, is just a notebook, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
just
But-
paper documentation.
Is, on the emergency contact forms that you guys have, that you guys should have, are IDs checked?
Not every day, I don't believe they are.
Honestly, for the first couple weeks of the park program, IDs should be checked every single day. Doesn't matter if the person who's picking them up every day, doesn't matter if the person who's signing them up, because my son was taken out of the park by his father, who's not on the list. So that's my other concern. I mean, I'm more than willing to help out if you guys, want any help or anything like that. I mean, I've gone over, forms for the school district private school district, I should say, but, I mean, that's the biggest concern that I have.
Okay, if you want to write that up too with your concerns, that would help. Next year, we can make sure that they're addressed. Because, yeah, if we have a problem, we sure don't want to continue with that problem. So, yeah, any help that you would give us, we'd appreciate it. I mean, it'll be in the minutes, but maybe not word for word.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the program has come leaps and bounds from year one.
yeah,
You know, the last 2 years, we've had 2 great people running it. That whole first incident, understood.
My kids
and-
absolutely love the program. My
Yeah.
oldest one is 12, my middle one is 8. I'm hoping to get my youngest one to it here soon, he just turned 3. They
Yeah.
absolutely love the program. They love everything that's being done. But the safety is my main concern.
Yeah.
and it should be.
Yeah, likewise, it's growing pains, honestly. None of us had any involvement with the program prior, and we're trying to working, to get it revamped again up to, they had hundreds of kids back 10 years ago. And so, I mean, input does help. I mean, there's always something that can be done and improved on.
But it being my kids twice in 3 years, I mean, it's a little concerning for me, so.
The first year was a disaster.
Somewhat.
It's grown
That's the first thing
pains.
after COVID, we were all new to it.
It was,
But,
yes.
Things happen, and
Zoning enforcement officer replacement, we did hire Mike Thompson. We had 3 candidates, 1 backed out, and number 2. But anyway, Mike Thompson was the best at, and he's working out very well so far. He's learning the job, and Ivan's with it to help him. So that's done. That can come off from here.
Chris, Roy,
Oh, okay, for him. Okay, yeah. Well, I make a motion that we do hire Mike Thompson to be our new zoning enforcement officer.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good, good catch. Town park updates. Bill had the county, right? You snagged him to come in and cut the walking trails and
Yes.
cut back on that. Oh, that was great.
Looks good.
That looks perfect, yeah.
They
Nice
did a
job.
real nice job.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to get that done.
And then, our highway department went in yesterday and swept all that debris that was in the trail from the cut, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good, thank you. Much better. The benches, yeah, you guys sent me a link to,
I'm on it.
did you price anything out? Yeah, I didn't call the guy this morning, but I was going to, never did.
Yeah, there's just, it's a work in progress.
Okay.
A lot of options for a bench, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's something we have in spring, for spring. You know, we
Yeah,
got-
it's probably not, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but, in order to get one that'll survive the park, as Josh might wanna put it. There's no sense spending $300 on a bench that'll be destroyed in a week.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, I'll have more information for you probably next week.
Okay, good. Stones in the ground after the fence was installed for Little League on Little League 3, and that's done,
Yep.
right? I talked to Rich, you talked to Rich, and they took care of it before we issued a check, so you're happy still? Good. Okay, so that,
There's rocks over his house now, but yeah.
There's a couple little piles that we gotta get yet, but there's nothing major.
okay, good. Martin Drive and Turn Road, brush along the road. That is town right away, Bill? Is that something we should be handling, or is that the homeowner?
Homeowner or DOT?
DOT, when,
Is that state?
I spoke to the DOT, the resident engineer, I'll get into that a little bit later, about the culvert issue. I mentioned that to him, I go, as long as I got you on the phone, I mentioned that to him, and he said he would look into it. The problem is right now, we don't know who lives there, somebody, bought the place or whatever, hasn't been nobody there. But as far as the town goes, I don't think we have authority to go in there and just cut that hedgerow out. It's a state road, it's in their right of way. I think they would be the ones that would have to, do that work, so.
So should we file a complaint with the state then? if
Well,
we've got a
like I said,
problem?
you can send them, a letterhead. I did talk to him, about it, so he's aware of it,
Okay,
so. I should say they are. The gentleman's name is, Jonathan Tibbetts. He's the resident engineer now for this area, so.
And I did send the homeowner a letter, telling them they had to cut it back, so from our end, we've done what we do.
do you get the new homeowner then? You found who owned the house now? Who bought it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Disaster relief plan. There again, Jennifer was gonna handle some of that. We do have a plan in place from years ago. I'm sure updated would be good. We have a safe house or whatever you might call it too, that, I guess the bingo hall was the safe house before, right? If we have,
Yes, that's the fireman's hall over there is the, facility that was to be used if there was a disaster townwide, because of the size of it. The only thing we didn't have, like I mentioned before, was room for cots. And through the American Red Cross, I can't remember the lady's name, it's been so long, but they were talking about having the cots placed here, down cellar to town hall, that would be made available if, there was something. And it was used, I think it was last year maybe, or the year before, there was probably residents, used it for, I'm trying to remember what, took place. It's either probably flooding there, I'm not even sure to be honest with you, but they did use it for a few hours, because it's got a generator there, you know, if there's no power, you know, and everything, so, they did use it, you know, to keep warm and everything else, so.
So, yeah, Jennifer was gonna handle that, she used to work with the Red Cross, and she kinda has a plan that she's gonna get on paper for us. Abandoned and neglected properties update. We do have a few that need letters. Did you send anything out recently?
I think so, right?
Not recently.
No,
No.
because there's a few that need them, when we've been riding around, there's a couple that got real bad again.
I mentioned a couple to Vito, I can follow up with him and see if he sent those.
Okay, any other old business, we miss anything, we got anything else? New business, we got overhead doors for the highway garage. I met with, Matt Beck with Beaton International, or Beaton Industries, the other day with the town highway department, and still the bottom of just about every door, they can do the bottom panels. Anybody else we talked to include JM Door and somebody else, wanted to replace the whole door. And these guys are able to just replace the bad panels, and possibly a couple of the window panels are starting to rust. They're not terrible, but they might be able to fix, whatever. He's getting us a proposal together on that. He had a proposal to do all the lower panels that did not include the windows. I left it at home, I get it on my computer, 25,000 thereabouts, so obviously we gotta get a couple more bids.
I've been through it.
We
Once
are,
already,
I know.
and no one's gonna bid the bottom, so it's.
And the bottoms are bad enough that we should get them done, and the openers. And he didn't have a price on the openers yet. Some of the openers that you have there now, he can retrofit with a remote, so we won't have to put new openers in. A couple of them are older and they'll have to be replaced, but we will get openers on all the doors that you guys want with remotes. So they
Yeah,
can.
because all the doors have the openers on them,
Yeah,
you know.
some were old enough that they couldn't, he didn't think that they could, do remotes for them, but others can.
Like I said, 3 of the doors have remotes right now, but we'd like to have them in the rest of them, so that, especially wintertime, you're not walking out to the, get the loader, you know, and then coming back to get a truck and so on and so forth, you know,
Yep.
and it's just,
So I told him we definitely wanted that done by winter, you know, with the openers. So, but he'll give me something. And we did get prices on openers and everything last year with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beaton was still the best. All Pest Pros service agreement, there's a copy in our packet for that. We're currently with, Orkin. These guys are a little bit cheaper, but we're really not sure if they offer the same service. We just got the thing, just got to look at it. They were $15, $20 cheaper per month. Yeah. But we'd like to see what's included.
Yeah, review that before we go in.
So to speak. So we'll look into that more for next month. I do have a letter, town property on Skinner Road. It's at the intersection of Skinner and Sloan. That sounds Skinner though, right?
Yeah.
yes.
It's about 8 acres. Local residents over there, Jessica and Jason Allen, would like to purchase part or all of it. What we have to do is basically have it appraised. They're gonna have to have it surveyed. It used to be a gravel pit, I guess, right, years ago?
Yes.
And it's unused, I guess it's a mess. I haven't been over to look at it yet, I meant to, forgot about it. How does it look?
It's wooded, it's hard to tell how
Yeah.
much of a pit's over there. I don't think it's very deep or big, is it? That's,
It's all overgrown, it's, you know,
Yeah.
lot of water cistern, let's put it that way.
Yeah, they'd like it, because they wanna put a detached garage on, off to the north side of their house, and they don't have the room on their property, so they said we'd like to buy some of it, or we'll buy all of it, so we just,
they would need to do like a formal letter.
I have the formal letter for an intent.
Sign offer, yeah.
Yeah, I do have that for intent to purchase.
So,
But other than that, yeah, we just have to,
yeah.
Gotta do an appraisal, like you said, and then
Yeah.
we gotta do,
it's not anything, I was concerned the bill might, you know, you might want that still as a gravel bed if it was used in the years past, if you didn't want to sell.
We haven't used that in
Okay.
I don't know how many years.
So it's not doing us any good, right? It'd be nice to get it back on the tax rolls, whether we want to sell part or all. It's only 8 acres and it's a triangular piece that comes down to Carl Max.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it's not a no, so then we have to do that.
Entertain, yeah, we just gotta see where the numbers come in from the appraisal.
Yeah. Okay, is that it? That all we have to do with that, Evan, as far as?
Yeah, I mean, if you could give me a copy of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'll
Yeah,
check it out.
okay. Good. Let's see the announcements. Why do we have announcements and comments? Any idea?
Announcement comments now.
We'll go to board member comments, always got the announcements, right? Bill, you got? Got anything for the board?
Yeah, just give me an update. Novichit paving has been completed. All of Pleasant Drive was done this last week. Millis Drive from Pillmore to Pineview was resurfaced, and Andrick from Pillmore to Pineview was done. Where the water main break was up at the end of Millis, they repaired, they fixed that too, did a real nice job on that, so that's taken care of. We just gotta get with, get with the city, we need to vacuum out that, catch basin there because of all the debris from the, when the.
Right, we should probably go down, that culvert goes all the way down and crosses the road down there.
Yeah,
so.
right, there's a few others, well, I'll get with the city on that, they usually work with us pretty well, and, to bring up their vacuum truck to do that. The flags, if you probably noticed, have been taken down by our department and the town of Anza with their bucket truck, like we do every year, they help us put them up, because they got the bucket truck and taken down. You already talked about the walking trail at the county, you know, again, working with our shared services, they did that. The other thing is, thanks to Lori there, we do have our fireproof cabinet now. We bought it at McQuaid Bag, and she did quite a bit of research, and we got the best deal there. So that's already at the shop, and we've installed that. That's in place of what we talked about, putting the addition on the building. So for, I think it was $1,300, it was a lot cheaper than putting a 10-by-10 addition on the building. We reorganized things, and so now the barrels are all in one corner. So hopefully there'll never be a fire there, but at least everything's in one spot, you know what I'm saying? The fire cabinet's on this corner, and barrels are all on the other corner, so, and of course, we let the fire department, you know, give them a sketch of that, so they are aware of it, what's where. But, it was well worth the investment, so, you know. And that's all I got right now.
Good. Josh?
As far as the benches on the trail, could we do, you know how we did them before where people donated for those, type thing, is there any way to do that, or? If people wanted to.
Probably
That's what was talked about originally, John probably remembers, that when they talked about putting benches was, in memory of people.
Yeah.
You know, certain ones, I know families, like you got the one for Richie Evans, and you got the ones for the Waterman family.
Yeah, those.
But there were others that were mentioned, even past, town officials,
Because people like to have their name on something.
right, and I know there was a gentleman back years ago who used to walk the park and pick up every day, William Angel, that was mentioned, even, you know, when they talked about even naming the trails, was even doing something like that over the bench part of it, you know?
Or even like, didn't Gerald used to do a lot with the park for the.
Gerald Millis.
Gerald
So,
Millis.
you know, that's just tossing that out there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And get a plaque on them then.
Yeah, just a small, you know, you see them in a lot of parks.
Yeah.
Go to and everything.
And
Jim,
then we like stone.
I do have one more thing just before I forget. We're talking about Route 26. Jonathan Tibbetts is the resident engineer now. He called me yesterday about the issue with the flooding on Stokesley Center Road and 26. So he's looking into it to see what is actually taking place and what's can be done.
Yeah, they got a bunch of pictures too.
So he's got contacted by Joe Griffo's office, so I think that kind of lit a fire under the state to finally look into this, so, per se. But he did, he asked me quite a bit, and I gave him Josh's number if he had any other questions. But like I told him, it's a dual type thing. It's, you got issue with Stokesley Center Road by the reservoirs, the flood, and then you've got by 26. So, just so you know that, they are aware of it, so he's a new resident engineer, so he's looking into, see what can be done there.
Farther than we've gotten in a long time.
Yes.
Just that, I just wanna add something to that. Now, they got a hold of Bill, the DOT, through Griffel's office, Senator Griffel's office. And now his next step is to get a hold of the county, so, when did you get hold of you, yesterday? Yeah, so hopefully you got a hold of the county today, because all three agencies need to get together and figure this out, who's gonna fund it, and I think, I think all, the town of Lee, the county, and the state, get together and handle all the labor, so, and it's just a matter of breaking down who's gonna do what.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what makes it, a little difficult to get these three together and come up with a plan.
Yeah.
But, they'll get the ball rolling. Yeah, it's nice.
Good. Good. Josh, any more? You wanted stone under those benches too, if we do those eventually, right? When you get stone under them, so.
Yeah, something,
Yeah.
just so that it doesn't
Makes
go
sense.
out. And then you know about the pumps and stuff, we moved
Yep.
forward on that. They said it's not gonna be, they don't think it'll be as long as they thought it was gonna be, so they said maybe we could get everything done this year with the pumps, so.
Nice.
That'd be nice.
Anything else on that? Where we have to go, if we need help with that lead survey,
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be, we're gonna have to send all the mailers out and.
yeah, so whatever we
see
can
what
do to
get
help.
back, and then they said whatever you get back, submit, and then, the other you put his own notes for now until you get stuff back.
Yeah, nice. That it? Steve, anything else?
Oh, no, I'm all talked out.
No way. Board member comments, Josh, Sean?
No, I looked at that one up on Sulphur Springs, Ms. Lore, and I don't know, I was gonna say maybe have the city back those couple culverts out if they're full of stuff, but, I mean, there's nothing that's gonna stop water from going, unless you put a 3-foot ditch down through there.
That's,
And that's not gonna happen. So, looks like we've done everything we can do with those, those two catch basins.
right?
Yeah, you got the curb around behind them and everything, and
You've seen it, the driveway sits
it's
probably
all,
4 foot below the road,
yeah,
it's,
it's
I really like. you
Mother
said,
Nature, you can't really, so, I was hoping she was here tonight, so because I, took a look at it and everything, explained to her.
We took some of those sandbags up there for now.
I
just
saw
to try
that.
to alleviate, trying something for now, but,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll come up with another solution, but I.
You see those new things they have too, instead of the sandbags, they're like L-shaped, like plastic, when you put them in, it's supposed to divert the water. It's like a lot smaller, or lighter type thing, so that you send it over.
They can't take, when you get that kind of rain,
Yeah,
they can't take the water.
We didn't used to get 6 inches of rain at a time.
That's pretty much, covered everything else that I kinda did, analytically.
John? Nothing. Joe? No? Evan? Nothing for you guys? The only thing I had, thank you to our clerks for the hours going back to Saturdays and Wednesday nights, that will help. That's a nice thing.
Just so you know, we won't be here Saturday, because we'll be at a wedding.
There you go. Never mind.
That's why I didn't change it on Google, so. I'll wait till next week.
I'm taking it back.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I lied, I got something else. Hauser Road Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
We closed it off after, over a month ago, a milk truck went across it.
Did you ever find out who's
No,
the
we
truck?
never found out from the residents who did go across it. And it's already a 3-ton bridge. Well, I sent the guys up there Monday to pull yesterday to pull the barricades. Well, they got looking it over, and there's actually holes now down through the encroachments on each side of it. So I said, all right, just put the barricades back up. The Snowmobile Club in the meantime has contacted me because they're concerned, because that's their main trail, north, the Lee Center Trail Busters. I told them I'm gonna have to find out more information, and I think the town's gonna have to make a decision. It's been yellow flagged for over 20 years now. I'm surprised it's never been red flagged yet. But until then, I don't know, maybe Evan could give us some guidance about the liability if we allow that to stay open and let the Snowmobile Club use it. I don't know, I don't like the idea. I did go up there today and look at it after the guys told me about it. Again, I'm not an engineer, but it definitely needs some work, you know, but I don't know if that's gonna cover us until the state comes back in and does another inspection. So, but at this time, I've got it closed, I've got barricades, we've got it closed, it's for the town, you know, to protect, you know, the taxpayers. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same with you unfortunately, but it's, until we're told otherwise, I think that's a safe thing to do.
And that's nothing that we can qualify for, was it Bridge New York or whatever that?
You probably could, but.
for the last couple of years, when I started the process of that, again, it's what they go by, it's like with the flashing lights, they go by volume. Because it's such a low volume road, we get tossed straight out as far as, the grant part of it. Yeah, yeah. Because they got so many bridges in New York State that need replacing. We follow, like I said, ours, you know, close to the bottom of the list, I hate to say
I
it.
wonder if there's anything the Snowmobile Club's eligible for on a different avenue, you know?
I've mentioned that to him for I don't know how many years now. I said, you know, reach out, especially with our governor, you know, pushing for outdoor activities. I said, maybe they would be able to get a grant of some sort to possibly, you know, for funding to make it a pedestrian-only type thing for snowmobiling and walking across it. You know, no vehicle traffic other than that, but.
Now, is there any way that the town can give up that section, because the Snowmobile Club, like, they put bridges in, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that something where the town can give up that section of road? Like, say that it's not a road anymore?
You know, that you'd have to abandon, make that an abandoned road and it's been traveled.
I mean,
There's
it's only used now.
qualifications, you know, that, yeah, Amish use it. They go around the barricades from what I've been told.
What's the name of the bridge?
Hauser Road?
Thank you.
I'm good. Yeah, sounds good, Joe's good, Evan's good. I'm good. Motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, good. Motion to adjourn. You wanna do that one? Perfect, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, it's done. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Having water with it?
Yeah, tonight I actually will.
Oh, come on.
Excuse me, before you go.
What's Joe's last name? He's nobody can think of it, including me. Just so,
I came from Yeah, yeah, I guess it's the second.
I talked to
Yeah. They could remember.
You know, it was like a zoo when that was on. I didn't go over that.
I got to go to one, they gave us some tickets.
Of course,
You know,
we're not high enough up on the list.
you watch it on there? As a matter of fact, good seats. I had COPD. You know how difficult it was for me to walk down from Roque to give me a brewski. My love.
stumble down those steps.
You know, Sean, you can't drink too much. I went to see Santana and Army Girls. $24 for my sister and I, and my wife had a son, $42.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So kids get done with the program, they have lunch.
You don't get it. If consumption down, this guy doesn't have enough money to just drop it. Don't tell me. Everybody was telling me, I was out there, I had a couple, I had a couple beers out there. I think I had 2 24 ounces in there. And I was driving.
You do to help us with that too, then.
Was drinking, drunk. Got a little buzz on, you know.
Got it, okay. I'll write this down on a bad foot. Any,
So this is Don Peavy. We're with Town of Lee Civic Fairs, and we're just closing the meeting up tonight. Very good meeting, lots of information. I got to meet the town supervisor, who wasn't here last year when we were here, and he's got a lot of time in service here, almost 50 years in fact. So that's amazing for someone to be in the town that long, taking care of business for the people. so we appreciate that. A lot of information today. Some of that with the town park was pretty interesting, where there were some injuries 2 or 3 years in a row or twice, and it makes, that liability issue that anybody with a larger town park that takes in, summer activities like the town of Western might do with the library, those are some liability issues that you really have to kind of look at very carefully. How much liability you want to take on with those kinds of not really daycare, but whether they stay for 2 or 4 or 5 hours at a town park and enjoy that time. How do you protect those children, and how much liability is there in that process of making that park available to people, children, without adult supervision from their parents or whoever, their caretakers. But it's a really eye-opening revelation, if you will, to see that those issues do exist in larger towns like Lee, and even possibly Paris. So it's pretty much over for tonight. We're going to take off. So we appreciate you coming out to the meeting tonight from your easy chairs. And hopefully we can bring you more meetings like this from the town of Western, town of Paris, town of New Hartford, and the town of Lee, and other towns as well. So have a good night. We're here for you.
Yeah, right.